chapter 12, verses 1 to 10. Arjuna uvacha evam satata yuktaye bhaktva svam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Shri Bhagavan uvacha Maya mano ye mam Nityayukta upasate Shraddhaya parayopetam Te me yukta tamamataha Ye tvaksharamanirdesyam Avyaktam paryupasate Sarvatra gamachintyam cha Utastha machalam dhruvam Samniyamyendriyagramam Sarvatra samabuddhayaha Te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhutahite rataha kleshodhikaratastesam vyaktasamasta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhiravapsyate ye tu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate teshamaham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha Mayyaveshita chetasam Mayyeva mana adhasva Mayi buddhim niveshaya Nivasishyasi mayyeva Ata urdhvam na samshayaha Atha chittam samadhatum Na shaknoshi mayi sthiram Abhyasa yogena tataha Mamichhaptum dhananjaya Abhyasapyar samarthosi Mat karma paramo bhava Madarthamapi karmani Kurvan siddhimavapsyasi. Hari Om. I will share the brief of my little expedition to the Himalayas at the end of the lecture. So today we begin the very famous chapter, the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. A brief chapter, a chapter which consists of 20 verses, which is divided into 3 topics. The first 5 verses talks about form and formless worship. Verses 1 to 5, verses 6 to 12, he talks of the progressive ways to reach God, 6 to 12, and 13 to 20 are the famous 35 qualities of a devotee of God, verses 13 to 20. In the Shastras, you have 71 qualities. In the Gita itself, 71 qualities painting a picture of a man of perfection or one who is aspiring to attain perfection. So you can use that quality as a path. You can use these qualities as a path, and these qualities can also be depicted as the goal. Means one who has attained perfection will exhibit these 71 qualities. And 35 of them appear in the 12th chapter, 20 qualities appear in the 13th chapter, which are the qualities of a jnani. And in the 16th chapter, he gives 26 qualities of a divine person. So 35 plus 20 plus 26, you have got 71 qualities. Right, ma? 16th chapter has got 26 qualities. Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the distinction between the divine and the demoniac. So he gives 26 qualities of a divine there. You find some qualities are overlapping, but as a whole, you have 71 flavors of an evolved person. So at the end of the chapter, he gives those 35 qualities. So we'll get on with the text. The first verse, please. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktva Stvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna Uvacha Evam Satata Yuktaye Bhaktva Stvam Paryupasate Ye Chapyaksharam Avyaktam Tesham Ke Yoga Vittamaha. Arjuna Vacha. That chapter begins with Arjuna asking a question. Invariably, it's either Arjuna asking a question or is Lord Krishna answering a question which ended in the previous chapter. So here, Arjuna said, thus, evam, referring to the 54th and the 55th verse of the previous chapter. So what reference he is taking is the 54th and 55th verse of the 11th chapter. He says, those ever steadfast devotees who worship you, and also those who worship the imperishable, avyaktam. Which of these are best versed in yoga? He's asking a question. Is it better to worship God with a form? Is it good to worship you? Here, worship you here refers to Lord Krishna, or the form, or an idol, or a god with a form means an idol. Is it easy to worship a god with a form, or am I to worship God without a form? Which of these, who of these is better? What is best? Oh Lord, can you please tell me? Am I to worship God with a form, or am I to worship the imperishable, the unmanifest? Aksharam, avyaktam. Both are steadfast. As he qualifies in the verse, ever steadfast devotees. What do you mean steadfast? Okay, what is the opposite of steadfast? Wavering, fleeting, not really fleeting, fickle-minded, inconsistent. So he qualifies it by saying the seeker is steadfast. I may be worshipping the unmanifest, but I could be fickle, but no use. You may be worshipping a Lord with a form, but if you are steadfast, well and good. So it doesn't matter whether you worship a God with a form or the formless, but what's important is, do you have that shraddha? Do you have that quality to be steadfast? So who is better in yoga? Yoga here refers to the spiritual union. So when I'm using worshipping of a god with a form or without a form for the self, of these two, who is better is the question. Obviously, the Lord gives the answer in the very next verse itself. But what we got to understand first and foremost, that is it in the spiritual path? Let me ask you this question, all of you, online and physical here. In the spiritual path, is an idol required or not? Because he's asking, am I to worship God with a form or without a form? Who is better? But before we get to that, let us understand ourselves. In the spiritual field, is an idol required or not? Is it required? Yes. So an idol is essential, you mean?
Yes,
Why do you say so?
because the big majority of all of us, we are involved in worldly activities, endeavors, endeavors vis-a-vis the external world. So for such people who cannot really, varying degrees of time, they may be able to take out for the divine in the course of 124-hour day. So for such people, if there is a form, there is focus, there is contemplation, there is concentration, and therefore the path is that much easier.
So obviously you are referring to people who require a form.
Yes.
But let's say I'm certain there are certain percentage of people, though they may be small, but they don't need a form. They are able to tune to the formless. So irrespective whether you need a form or you don't need a form, the question is generic. In the spiritual field, is an idol required or not?
Then it would depend upon the inclinations, the proclivities of the aspirant. Idol or ideal?
Idol.
Ideal.
Ideal. Yes, sir, Happy.
The spiritual field, idol is not required. But if someone wants to evolve from extrovert to introvert, from this idol worship, he can transform himself into uninterested form.
So you say an idol is not required. You will say an idol is not required.
Idol is required in the beginning, early stages.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Idol is required.
Idol is required.
Form, you should be able to get into the formless.
Yes. Can you use the microphone, please?
Form is needed to get into the formless because we need forms in the world. So we need to then only appreciate the form that's available. In fact, appreciate every form as it is itself is idol worship. Every form as it is. If you can look at it, if you can really that itself is true worship to the formless. You need form to get into forms. Because we are dealing with the world.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we can really lay down a rule as to whether it's required or not required. As per the vasana of the individuals, it fits those. Some people automatically take to Brahma Bhakti, some people automatically take to Krishna Bhakti, some people take to. Maybe if you take directly to the formless, maybe Sri Ramakrishna was an exception. He experienced many things. And later he experimented with forms and came to a conclusion with two forms also you can attain the same state. He was a mother goddess worshipper, but he was also a worshipper of the formless. But most people, as you had also said more than on one occasion, people are saying Kavalaga. What they are worshipping ostensibly is Sri Rama, but what they are actually worshipping is Brahma. So I think eventually the difference.
So I think the question is not being understood clearly in the terms. The question is, in the spiritual field, is an idol required? Now, you people are interpreting an idol as something as a form. Isn't that interpretation I gather from the answers? You're saying that
Idol as well as the
that this is
or as in one God.
sorry.
Idol as in Krishna Rama, even if it's not a physical form, a mental concept. But if you consider that an idol.
See, this is where we need to interpret an idol. See an idol, the purpose of an idol is it represents the right. The moment you say idol, idol is something that is known to you. So to answer the question in the spiritual field, do you need an idol? Yes. Irrespective whether you are using form or you're using formless, you need to have an idol to attune to the ideal. Now, the moment you say ideal is something that is unknown to us. Now, what is the ideal? Ideal is self-realization, or you can say it is God realization. We don't have an iota of an idea what that God realization is, because you and I don't know what God is. It's an unknown term. Let's accept it. Do you know? Does anyone really know what God is? It is your approximation at its best. You're giving your best shot thinking that's what God is. But is that God? No experience. You don't know what it is. So God or Brahman is unknown to us. So therefore, in the spiritual field, we are given various idols that will get you to the ideal. Now, an idol can be of two categories. An idol can be gross or subtle. When I say gross, it is tangible. Subtle is intangible. If I give you an idea, when I say Brahman is imperishable, it's an intangible, it's an idea, it's a thought. But I'm helping you understand. You can also call it as I said, it is Brahman. Now, if I were to say, what is tangible? If I say, okay, if I say Ganesha, or if I say Lord Rama, you are able to visualize a form, you are able to visualize an entity, and then you relate that to Brahman. But when I say intangible, I can say Brahman is imperishable. I may call it the unmanifest. I may call it whatever it is. But if I were to use those terms, they are subtle, intangible idols to relate to the ideal. So whether you are a spiritual beginner, a spiritual beginner would need gross, tangible idols, an advanced spiritual seeker would need subtle, intangible idols. So in the terms of the question, form or formless. Both are needed to get to the ideal. So in the spiritual field, do we need an idol? Certainly. Without an idol, there is no spiritual journey at all. The spiritual journey begins with using an idol. And the best, okay, what is the purpose of an idol? Venkatramji, yes, sir.
No, when you say gross and subtle, by gross you mean tangible, and by subtle you mean formless. So where does a mental form fit in? That's somewhere in between. I can conceive of Krishna in my mind. I can conceive of Rama in my mind. That is gross or subtle?
Gross.
That's still gross. It's not tangible.
But still, you are using the thought of a form to really remind you of the idea. If you say, if I say Brahman is imperishable, there is no association of thought. Is there association of thought?
Association of?
Of any thought. But moment you are visualizing Ganesha or Lord Krishna or Subramanya or Shiva, any of those, you are associating a form. The moment your form, it has qualities, it has attributes. And only a form has qualitative attributes. Anything formless has no qualitative attributes. So the moment you switch to the formless, there is no association of thought. You can't associate it. Immutable. What can you associate with? Unmanifest. The substratum. It is very clear of your personality. Okay. Can you inject any form to any of these things? All the time. Immutable, formless, imperishable. The core of your personality. There is no reference to a form there. Is there a reference to any form?
The answer to the other question about
Which question?
why do we, what is right do?
What is the purpose of it?
To enhance your concentration, I suppose, as a sadhaka, to give you focus.
Give you focus. Right? Not wrong at all. The purpose of an ideal is to remind you of the
Reach the ideal.
Yes, Venkatji. What is the purpose of an idol?
To reach the ideal and to bring focus anyway.
Not audible.
Hello.
Yeah.
To reach the ideal, Guruji.
To
Reach the ideal. IDAL.
your voice is on and off.
Yeah, I think. I can chat. I can put it in the chat box.
Yeah. So the purpose of an idol is to
Reach the ideal.
reach the ideal. Now, the biggest objection of spiritual masters are, what is the biggest objection? What are the Shastras objecting to the whole idea of idols? What are these masters against? Getting attached or holding on or hanging on to an idol. One minute. The whole objection is not the use of idols. The whole objection is you are not moving on from the idols. An idol can be a personality. The idol can be a guru. Idol can be a piece of knowledge. An idol can be a form. Idol can be a religion. It could be anything. So everything in the spiritual field is only to get you liberated from the idol. So the purpose of using the idol is to drop the idol. You get on to the idol not to hold on to the idol. The purpose of using an idol is to get rid of the idol. As long as once it has served its purpose, you move on and say, thank you very much. It's like, imagine if you're climbing a flight of stairs. You need that step to grow to the next step. But once you have get yourself established in the higher step, you don't need that lower step anymore. You've got to drop it off. You've got to go beyond it. Sorry? You have to give it up to grow. But this attachment in the spiritual field is so difficult to let go. So difficult. And to that, these masters are vehemently objecting. Why are you holding on to these idols? Come again, please.
That is Vedanta ashrams, at least whatever I have seen, where senior acharyas are present and seekers of various levels do come. But they do have idols. And they do worship, the prayers go on and abhishekams go on and all that. Is it to take the beginners from that to ideal, or what is the purpose of having them? They have idol of Guru also, founder of the movement.
With no specific implication, what is more important is to imbibe the teachings than worshipping the form. It's important. What is permanent, what remains permanent are the teachings, not the personality. But if you still hold on to the personality, in fact, one of the very strong thoughts which are communicated in Vedantic studies is you must not hold on to the personalities. So it's an attachment, some form of attachment, which exists sadly in most spiritual institutions. But if you were to separate the personality and go to the teachings, that division has to be made. For that particular reason, I don't believe in holding on to any personality in this institution. It is not difficult for me to pitch up or portray some of the gurus who I look up to, or whom I hold up to. And you all would not object me doing so. In fact, perhaps it will gain a greater respect than not doing it. But there is reason why I'm not doing so. Nor am I telling you to worship me as a guru. No, there is neither me nor anybody. Why do you have to hold on, or why do you have to be a slave to a personality? If that man has attained that higher state is through their own journey, spiritual journey. So that man should inspire you to get on to the journey. It's a teaching that matters, not holding on to the personality. What is the difference between me getting attached to my child or getting attached to my guru? No difference, I say. But the followers are still holding on to the personality. Not holding on. If they're not holding on, well and good. You need to.
Ramana Maharshi, I think, was a very rare spiritual giant, without any effort, will or volition, at the age of 16, on the first floor of his uncle's house in Madurai. Just a sudden fear of death overcame him. And then he said, let me confront this question as to what is death. And then, is death is only the death of the body? And not of the mind, the intellect, but there is something which is beyond the body, mind, and intellect. What is it? And he got the answer. So he's a very rare person, is what I feel. And in the context of this form, the seeker is there. The seeker drops everything and is only left with the seeking. But ultimately, even the seeker has to drop this desire of seeking to become one with God. Even the act of seeking has to be dropped.
At this point, you must hold on to that seeking.
Beg your pardon?
At this point, please hold on to the seeking. Because there are many other things that are distracting us. Huh? Masala dosa, vadai, adella distract panadu, adella drop panu. So the question is asking, is it better to worship God with a form or without a form? And the answer which Lord Krishna gives may be surprising to all of us. Second verse, please. Okay, before I get to that, so a very powerful ritual that we follow when we worship Lord Ganesha, when the day of celebration comes with great pomp and show, we put up huge exhibits of Lord Ganesha in varied form, in varied style. Gatherings happen, arouses that feeling of devotion to Lord Ganesha. Come the 9th or the 11th day, as if by appointment, everybody parades to demolish the idol, almost unconcerned to what happens to it the 12th day. And other religions find it a means to attack in places where these idols are half immersed, half broken. They are pushed back to the shore. It becomes a piece of garbage. And they question, is this Hinduism? Is this your religion teaching you? A little garbage. Hundreds and hundreds of these idols, half with torso broken or with the tongue broken or the limbs broken. It becomes a big joke. But yet, you and I, who worship the Lord with such great sanctity, find it a great purpose and meaning even to immerse the idol. But you know, why are we told to immerse the idol? Whether it could be to Ganesha or even goddess Kali. Pritima, any idea? You know, why are we told to do so?
I don't know, but it's because I think you have to give your attachment up to the form, and think of the formless. Because anything that you give shape or form to eventually will lose its shape and form. It's all transient. So the focus has to be on something that lasts.
The implication is that form has served its purpose. I don't need the form anymore. They've ordered with the form. In the most dignified manner, you say, thank you very much, O Lord, for coming and elevating me. I don't need you anymore. The Lord has served its purpose. Otherwise, you hold on to the form rest of the year. No. You don't hold on. You just say, let go. The implications, so nobody understands why is the idol immersed. Because the idol, remember, idol has a limited scope or limited purpose. It loses its purpose beyond its purpose. If you don't understand its purpose and make use of its purpose, it has no purpose in your life. It becomes a thorn. Idol is supposed to elevate you, but if you don't use the purpose for which it's meant for, it becomes an impediment. So an idol is a means to get an idol, but if you don't use it as a means, it becomes an impediment to the idol itself. Marriage is an idol. You need to use your marriage so that you use it to go beyond it, not to get attached to marriage. Business is a idol. Why is it an idol? I want to use business as a means to evolve. Why am I doing business? I'm not doing business. Example I'm saying. If somebody wants to do business, why is he doing business? Somebody said Swabhava. Somebody has vasanas for business. Okay, how do I use my business as a means to evolve? So convert that business as an idol. Worship the business for a larger good. That very business becomes an idol. What is the purpose of business? Money. So you convert that money into goddess Lakshmi. You say, I worship wealth, not to amass and aggrandize wealth for my own unending greed, but I worship wealth to evolve spiritually. So thereafter, the wealth doesn't fascinate him. The wealth doesn't have any charm for him, but it serves its purpose to grow beyond it. Thereafter, wealth has no fascination. But if you fall a prey to wealth, that means I'm stuck to wealth. So every activity that you do in your life can be used as a means to first convert it to an idol and go beyond it. So converting any activity to idol is spirituality. That's the first step of spirituality, is to convert every activity into an idol. And then having converted, go beyond it. Then thereafter, the idol has no meaning to you. It is there, but has no meaning to you, because it has served its purpose. So it is just not the form. We're talking here of every activity that we do can be converted into a worship, which is converting idol into an ideal. Yes, ma. Yes, Pritima.
I don't understand the difference between imperishable, unmanifest, and Brahman. Isn't Brahman imperishable and unmanifest?
It is.
So how does that fall under the formless idol that is subtle, intangible, and imperishable?
See, when I say formless, an idol can be subtle. We said, right? Subtle is something which is intangible. Intangible in the sense it is not something which is gross. I can't contact it with my senses, but I can relate with my thoughts. Now, we said that we need an idol to relate to the ideal, right? Now, why did you ever question, any one of you question, why is an idol gross and subtle? Why are we classifying idols as gross and subtle? The reason they are classified is because of the class section of people. The less spiritually evolved, they need a form. The highly evolved people, they attune to the formless. But they still need to have an idea. They need to still hold on to something to get to that ideal. No? What is it that they hold on to? They hold on to that Brahman in the form of the unmanifest and the manifest. In the world, this is all that is manifested. Behind the manifested world, there is an unmanifest reality. They hold on to that idea. Everything, as he said, is passing, is fleeting, is perishable. But there is an imperishable in the perishable. There's something that does not perish. What is it that does not perish? You know what does not perish? I'll ask Ramji. Ramji, can you tell us, how do we say that there is an imperishable in the perishable?
Hari Om, sir.
Sir.
I can only guess. I feel that if we do believe that there is a Brahman in everything, so even the perishables, what is perishable? Even a mountain that lives for 1 crore of years is a perishable thing. It is temporary. So, and something that perishes in 2-3 days also is perishable. So in all these perishables, including our body, including us, Brahman is there. So that's why that is imperishable, which is within perishable.
How do you convince us? How do you prove it to us that there is an imperishable in the perishable? There is a logical argument you can explain that there is an imperishable in the perishable.
Because the perishable is created through ignorance of the imperishable.
Okay, so I'll help you answer the question.
Okay.
At 4 o'clock in this morning, what were you doing? Okay, so I don't know, I won't ask the question. At 3 o'clock this morning, what were you doing?
I was sleeping, sir.
Sleeping. At 6 o'clock, what were you doing? Hope not the same answer.
No, I was having coffee at 6 o'clock.
Huh?
I was having coffee at 6 o'clock.
You are having a coffee at 6 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, what were you doing?
I was having my breakfast.
Right, very good. Good going. At 9 o'clock, what were you doing?
I was in the car, sir. I was going somewhere on some work.
At 11:30, what were you doing?
I was just entering our building.
Sorry, you're entering your building.
Yeah.
12:15, what are you doing?
12:15.
Ah.
Right now, I am listening to you. I am in this satsang.
You are listening and you're talking. Now,
Yeah.
let me repeat what you said, what you did from morning. At 3 o'clock, you said,
I was sleeping.
sleeping. Then you said, I was having coffee. Then you said, I was having breakfast. Then you said, I was driving. Then you said, I was rushing to attend the session. You said, now you're saying, I'm eating. Sorry, not eating.
Yes.
I'm listening. Kushaba, he's not bunching anything. I am listening. I am talking. Now, what are these activities? You say listening, talking, driving, walking, sleeping, eating, sipping a cup of coffee. All these are activities which have got nothing to do with the other. All the activities have come and gone, but the I in that all the activities remain. I. That I is imperishable. Unknowingly, you are asserting that imperishable truth in the perishable experiences. Is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Throughout 24 hours, 365 days, rest all throughout life. They say, I'm doing some activity or other, but you say, I am. You're qualifying that I am with something. I am a waker, I am a sleeper. I understand. Dash. What we are doing is we are qualifying, we are distorting the pure consciousness which I am. So when they say you are the imperishable in the perishable, every experience, an introvert person will switch his attention to the imperishable I than the perishable happenings. He will not get tired of the happenings. He'll switch that which enables that experience to happen, not get tired with the happenings. Therefore, we said that is the subtle idol which reminds him to get to the ideal. Even that man, even introvert person needs that ideal. Therefore, we said ideal is essential to get to the ideal, whether it's gross or subtle. But ideal is essential. So it is not demeaning or dismiss an idol. What is to be understood is our attachment to any form of an idol. What is attachment? Giving it an importance more than it needs is an idol, is attachment. It doesn't need any more importance than it needs. Just use it for the purpose and move on. So in that sense, Pritima, there are various subtle idols. The knowledge itself is an idol. Vedantic wisdom is an idol. It may not have any form. It may not have any identity, but it's just knowledge. Now, what does this Vedantic knowledge remind us of? Teach us of the Atman, of the self. So as you grow higher, You will be holding on to subtler ideas, that's all. But it should have a place and give it a sanctified place. The moment it loses its sanctity is when you get attached to it. When you personalize it, you say, my personal God, what is my God? You got a business transaction with God or what? My God. See, you personalize it, you become obsessed to it. That is not accepted. You're right, no?
So can we therefore say that the substratum of the perishable is the imperishable?
Absolutely.
Like the Maharshi gives the example of a movie cinema. The screen can be called the imperishable. The movie which is screened comes and goes and comes and goes. But the substratum, the screen remains that way.
So to assimilate that idea, you go to theaters more often. In order to understand the concept, you don't have to go to theaters.
But you got to switch off the screen.
No, I don't know what. After that, you have no choice there.
We don't see the screen.
The permanent, the screen.
This is the example which Ramana Maharshi gives. The substratum is the screen, and the movie is the play which goes on.
Perfect, sir. Right, so you okay, Pradima? Verse 2, please. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya Veshamano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetam Te Me Yukta Tamamataha. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya Veshamano Ye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Parayopetam Te Me Yukta Tamahmataha. The Blessed Lord said, those devotees who fixing mind on me, worship me, ever steadfast, endowed with Shraddha, faith, them do I consider best in yoga. The question was, whom do you consider? One who worships me or one who worships the imperishable, the unmanifest? And what is the answer? Katyama, what's the answer?
Those who are fixing mind on me, worship me with steadfastness, endowed with Shraddha, I consider them to be the yoga.
Reading the same translation back to me. What is this? The answer the question. Of the two, who is better?
Whether form or formless, whoever has got the Shraddha in that Brahman are the devotees of.
The question is, am I to worship God with a form or formless? What is the answer Lord is giving? Huh? Is it? Worship God with it or without it? The mantra says, the verse says, again he says, if you are steadfast, he again repeats that word. Nitya yukta, if you are ever steadfast, one who fixes his mind on me, who worships me, referring to the form. So, he doesn't say one who worships the imperishable, he doesn't say that. He says one who worships the form. Them do I consider best in yoga. All what we said so far is thrown out of the window. Correct? Huh? I ask you, is it better to worship God with a form or the formless? Who is superior? SR. Please and take the mic and answer, sir.
I lost.
Is it better to worship God with a form or form? In the answer, what we explained, in the concept that we explained,
Yeah.
we said the introverted people are superior, the extrovert people are inferior. The lower in the ladder. The lower people in the ladder, spiritual ladder, higher in the ladder,
Formless.
formless.
Right.
Now, when Arjuna was asked, who asked the question, to him he says, I consider formless better than formless. So all that you established is gone, isn't it?
Yes.
So something not right here. Sorry? Yes.
Yes.
Worship me refers to a form. Sorry? Could you please use the mic? Ma'am?
It wouldn't be in uppercase if it was form.
We'll
It's-
delete the grammar part. Answer, come to the point.
I don't
See,
know, I mean,
even the first verse, if you're so particular, can you show the first verse, please? Who worship you. He used the word you there in caps. So, because there is a difference between the form and then he says the imperishable. There is a difference there. So, he continues the difference, but he says that one who worships the Lord is saying, much worship me. No, I've just started. Don't say confusing chapter already, please. Yes, sir, Setuji.
Here he is referring me because Arjuna is extrovert. So he thinks for him is the beginning of spirituality. He thinks form.
That's the point. When Arjuna, when Lord answers the question, he is answering to Arjuna in particular. There is the word in the verse. Ramji, since you raise your hand, I don't know why you're raising hand, but can you show the verse, please? Yes, Ramji, Chapandi.
I just wanted to ask, when he says me, the capital M, when he says me, is Krishna talking as Krishna or is he talking as Brahman? Because all the knowledge he is giving when he is talking of himself in all the chapters, you can assume two things. You can assume that he's talking as Krishna or he's talking as Brahman.
In general, whenever they use the word I and me, it means the self or the Brahman.
Brahman.
Here, it is interpreted as the personality, Mr. Krishna.
Oh.
Because
Because-
there is a difference between the personality, which is the form, and the formless. That's the difference. Otherwise, independently, whenever they use the word I or me, means the self, the formless.
Yeah, so if you assume that it is formless, then this means only the attachment to the formless or praying to the formless. But if, as you say, if it is Mr. Krishna, then yeah, it is with form. Then.
A huge, and this verse has been taken out of context. And there has formed Krishna consciousness. A huge movement of people worshipping Krishna. Because he says, Krishna, he says, worship me, I am the greatest. But what is that word which is from our understanding? Pasantama, tell me what is that word? Play mantra 2, please. What is the word which will bring out the interpretation to what we are saying? Which Setuji rightly answered that he has kept. See, a teacher always calibrates the answer as per the student, especially when it's one-to-one. Somebody asks you a question, you got to answer to the wavelength of the student, right? Even though the fact is a formless worship is superior to form, you agree?
Yes.
He says here, I consider form is better than the formless, right? Now, what is that word which would protect us from not mistaking it out of context? What is that one word, Vasantama? How can Shraddha justify that?
Yoga, if it's spiritual union, it can't be limited to form, right? It's steadfast.
Mind.
Fixing mind on me.
Saying mind on me, no. Yes, Ramji?
I was saying all the words are over.
Is it steadfast?
Steadfast. See, either you worship a god with a form or without a form, both need steadfastness. But when we say that he says form is better than formless, there is no contradiction to our established understanding that formless is superior to form. But when he says it is, I consider him the best, it is better to consider a form. Obviously, it refers to people of Arjuna's caliber. Where do you gather that? How do you gather that?
Them.
It is there even in English.
The devotees.
Worship. Worship.
Okay, let's go deduction process. All we deduct and come to conclusion. We can't assert me deduct panna. What is the word that justifies that it is only relevant to those class of people? See, there is that word, the Sanskrit word, if you read, those of you don't have that sheet on online, you see the last word of the verse is mataha. Mataha means my opinion, I consider. So it is a personal opinion of Lord Krishna. So what is opposed to mataha? మీ పేరేంటిమా మీరు ఆన్సర్ చేయండి. Pass the mic to her. What is opposed to matam?
Religion.
What do you say something? I can't hear. Is it on? Mic on?
Matam is religion.
Matam is religion. What is religion?
The one who chooses the way for spirituality.
No, that is the choice you and I have whom to choose. But what is religion? What is Christianity?
Community or something. Religion.
No, you're right in your thinking. Matam is religion. What is religion? Is it not religion an opinion of a personality? Christianity is born from Christ. There was no Christianity before Christ, isn't it?
Yes.
Buddhism is opinion of Lord Buddha. There was no Buddhism before Buddha. Ramakrishna Math was born from the great Ramakrishna. There was no Ramakrishna Math before the great Ramakrishna. So there's an institution, there's a following. People in that cult of movement believe he alone is God. Before Ramana Maharshi, there is no institution of the Ramana. So Ramana Kendra is all born because of one man. Before that, there is no existence because the man did not exist. All religions are opinions of an individual. Now, my question to you is, what is opposed to Matam?
I, Atma.
No,
I-
even the Matam, even religions are talking of the same Atma. I'm not saying religions are wrong.
Hmm.
When I say that, I'm not saying Buddhism is wrong. I'm not saying Christianity is wrong. I'm not saying what any institution is teaching is wrong. But Matam is an opinion of an individual. Now, putting aside Matam, what is it that comes? Huh? Samatama. No, not that, sir, when I say Matam, not that the religions are in conflict with each other. Is Christianity conflicting Buddhism? Is Buddhism conflicting Christianity? Is Christianity opposing Hinduism? No, the essential teachings are the self. The followers are misunderstood, fighting against each other, but not the essential teachings. So there is samatvam, samam even in the religions. But in order to come to the understanding of the context, you must understand this verse is opinion of Krishna vis-a-vis rest of the verses are not opinion. So the question is, what is opposed to opinion? What is truth? What is the factual truth? The infactual truth also there is. Yeah? I don't understand that arrival of that concept there.
In other words, we accept the truth, but not the impression.
Pop, pop, pop. I shut the door. You open it, I shut it. Shut case now, closed case are there. What is opposed to Matam? Any answer?
Faith, trust.
Any thoughts? Opposed to Matam is Sanatana Dharma. What spirituality? Sanatana Dharma, which are the eternal principles. The eternal principles don't depend on any individual. It is just knowledge. There is no individual master can claim it.
That's why we don't call it as a religion.
It is not. Sanatana Dharma is not religion. Vedanta is eternal principles. Sanatana Dharma is eternal principles. They don't depend on any master. They don't depend on any messiah. They don't depend on any prophet. They don't depend on a personality. But opinion depends on a personality. So therefore, what Krishna thinks in the context is with reference to Arjuna. It can't be a universal principle that worshipping a form is better than worshipping the formless. That is the only savior. That Mataha is only savior. Otherwise, you can take this verse as a blanket statement and say worshipping form is better than formless, which is not true. How can it be? It is wrong to say so. It's wrong to conclude so, but in the context. Yes, please.
Meaning that certain chapters of Gita are dedicated to Jnana Yoga, certain to Bhakti Yoga, and so on. Isn't it possible also that this chapter belonging to Bhakti Yoga, he explores Bhakti about other forms and then comes back to it and then explores something else in another chapter and finally in the conclusion brings them all together? I mean, is it possible that because of Bhakti Yoga that he's saying that is the greatest of here is supporting Bhakti Yoga?
Okay, if you, I agree with you, but you have to be patient with me till we come to the end of the chapter. As I said, from verses 13 to 20, he paints a picture of a devotee of God. 35 qualities. Not a quality, there's a mention of a form, not a quality. It doesn't say one who goes to the dhams. I just went to pass by so many dhams along my way to trekking Himalayas. Not one who mentions he's one who goes to these pilgrimages. Not one who offers this sacrificial rites or performs these. None of that. No mention of patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. No. 35 qualities and not a mention of those so-called practices which are meant to indicate your level of bhakti. None of them appear in that. Maybe Krishna must have lost his focus. நீங்க சொல்லுவீங்களா? Could you say so? Then what is true bhakti? He paints a picture. Therefore, you got to take it holistically. In the context of it, he says, because Arjuna needs a form, he says form is better. As simple as that. As straightforward as that. But does it apply to me? You got to measure your own requirement. Don't take it on its face value and try to fit into that shoe. It may not fit into you. That's very important. And this, since it's not understood, it is taken as an open blanket statement because the Lord said so, and that is being, there's a huge propaganda going on. In a way, it justifies because majority of people are, they need a form. Therefore, it just sort of fits in as well.
How does some of the things which has also taken this from some people have taken it up. Like other religions have come, so let's have Krishna. It is a Krishna religion only.
So matam, as we said, is opposed to Sanatana Dharma. Matam or an opinion is given at a particular time. Sorry,
Interrupt.
you are too soft. You can't interrupt. You have to be a little louder to interrupt me. Yes, ma.
Is Sanatana Dharma then perennial philosophy?
Indeed.
Okay.
That's what I was, the next point I was saying is, opinion is to a particular audience, at a particular situation, in a particular context, at a particular time. It was relevant then, it was relevant to him, may not be relevant to you and me in the current moment. See, there may be people in this classroom who may not be worshipping a form. So how can I impose that idea that, you better pick up a form and hold on to it? How can it be an eternal principle? It's not. Contrary to that, Sanatana Dharma, as we say, is something which is applicable at all periods of time to anyone at any place in history. It's applicable at all times. That is the very definition of Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means principle. These principles do not change. In fact, we understand the value of that Sanatana Dharma when you compare it in the context of an opinion. So what we all have are opinions. Are you speaking the Sanatana Dharma? Especially when I am talking all the time, it is very, very important. I consciously cannot bring my opinion as an individual into the teachings. There's a very conscious line I got to draw. It's not what I feel. I got to speak the truth. I got to bring the truth out to you all and speak what Sanatana Dharma is, not my opinion. I need to be mindful. Now, are you also mindful when you talk? Or are you giving your opinions? You've got to be mindful. Especially in a classroom like this, you've got to speak the principles, not opinions. Your opinion may not be applicable to me, may not be applicable to thy neighbor. It may be applicable to you. How can it be the truth? It's very important. See, it just gives a subtle difference. So, as I've said, the message in this verse is not a universal message. It's only applicable to Arjuna or those who are at the level of Arjuna, who need a form. Can you use the mic, sir, please?
Actually, Hinduism is Sanatana Dharma.
Hinduism is not Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism also is a part of Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism was born much later. The eternal principles which were contained in the Vedas, they came much, much before Hinduism.
No, Hinduism is by mistakenly it is being interpreted. It's a way of life actually.
No, it is mistakenly, yeah, but Hinduism is not Sanatana Dharma. In fact, you take out the entire Hinduism, still Sanatana Dharma has got something to offer. Take out all the forms and gods and goddesses, which the Hindu religion, Hindu pantheon talks of. Take out all of that, disregard it. Take that chunk of the text out of Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma has got something to offer. The teachings of Vedanta doesn't rely on the contributions of Hinduism. Vedanta is not incomplete without Hinduism. It's like, let's say, the river Ganges dries up, sir. Now, coming from the Ganges, seeing that even in the peak summer, the Ganges was torrential flow, the freezing water of the Ganges.
Can we therefore say that? Sorry.
Therefore, I must conclude. No, that's just a statement.
Question.
When the river is flowing, who is what concluded connection? That's how to say so. Therefore, I must conclude that even when all the water of the river Ganges dries up, will the ocean sink? Will the ocean dry up? Millions of gallons of water is being pumped every minute into the ocean. The Ganges never dries up. But yet, it doesn't make a difference to the ocean. We fail to see that bigger picture. If river is a religion, the ocean is Sanatana Dharma. All rivers that merge into that mass sheet of water, which has no name, no form, no beginning, no end, that is Sanatana Dharma. The rivers has a beginning, has an end. All religions have a beginning, have an end. They revolve around an individual, a personality. But ocean, that knowledge, en mass knowledge has no beginning or end. It will not die, it doesn't depend on any religion. So Sanatana Dharma doesn't need me, doesn't need this institution, doesn't need us. It will thrive to survive steadily. What we are trying to do is make some noise about the great wisdom. It doesn't need me. It is my arrogance if I say I am doing something for it. Big deal, nothing. You see that? So there is that difference between the river and the ocean. And the ocean, the moment the waters enter the ocean, does it? In fact, that's what we say, isn't it? When the rivers enter the ocean, instantly it loses its individuality. It gains a totality. So where is the personality here? It is just knowledge. So as a principle, we should try to imbibe that principle. Don't hold on to personalities. Speak the truth for the truth which has to be spoken because there's truth in it, not because somebody said so or somebody lived it. It is his prerogative to live it. So make it yours to live it and be an example. So you must switch gear from religion to. So liberate yourself from personalities. Just liberate. Doesn't matter who said so, doesn't matter what they did. So be it. What is that they say? What is the truth in it? That has no identity. Whether be it the Nile or the great Brahmaputra or the Ganges or whatever it is. It ceases to exist.
True spirituality.
There is only one spirituality. Is what it is. Therefore,
Therefore, I think it would be right to say that the principles of Sanatana Dharma permeate all religions.
they are in fact taking the religions only are taking aspects of truth, not the entire truth. No religion can ever speak the entire truth. Because what is religion? Opinion, correct? What is opinion? Given at a particular place, a particular time, at a particular context. In a particular time, in a particular context, it's impossible to give the entire truth. For example, even the 18 chapters of the Gita does not give entire Vedanta. Why? Because Arjuna did not need illusions. which the Mandukya Upanishad talks of it, Lord Krishna did not talk Maya and illusions to Arjuna. Why? Arjuna didn't need it. If we take Bhagavad Gita as a religion, which is taken today, it is not giving the complete truth because it was given in a context of a warfare with a particular purpose to resurrect him. How can you take that out of context and say it's a complete truth? No, Bhagavad Gita is an incomplete text. It can't be taken as Sanatana Dharma because the concepts, there are many concepts which are contained in Vedanta, don't picture in the Bhagavad Gita, which you will understand because there was no need for the Lord to explain of it in the context. There are many concepts which we learn from other scriptural texts, which don't appear in Bhagavad Gita. So no, you can't say, oh, Kathopanishad is a Sanatana Dharma. No, Kathopanishad was a conversation between Nachiketa and Lord Yama. What transpired between them in that context may not be the context of Gita. What transpired between Adi Shankaracharya and his disciples in Bhajagovindam may not transpire in Vivekachudamani, may not be transpiring in Atmabodha, may not transpire in Kenopanishad, may not transpire in Isavasha Upanishad or Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. All these texts are all contextuals. No? They're bringing out certain aspect of the truth, a flavor of truth, not the entire truth. Therefore, you can't say this is the entire truth. No, no. You can't say Christianity alone is the savior. Say, stop it. And the Madri, don't go blow hot and cold. Don't go blow on saying this is everything. Is there limitation to say, oh, Buddhism alone is everything? He spoke in a context. In his lifetime, he had certain opportunities to speak in certain context to certain audience. He gave out certain aspect of the truth. Now, I'm not saying Buddha did not know the whole truth. He knew the whole truth, but he never had opportunity to speak the whole truth. So how can you say what he spoke is the entire truth and there's no truth greater than that? You can't be caught up in a compartment. You've got to come out of that and see the entire truth. Then you see Sanatana Dharma. Correct, blind man, elephant.
So Guruji, all the texts that you listed are seminal texts, but they are not, I mean, each text is not the only one. So
Can't be.
each is a seminal text.
Each is, yes. Though extraordinary in its own rights, profound teachings, nothing short of the ultimate truth, but that can't be the complete works. It cannot be, because no mind could bring out in that particular context. It was all brought out in context. Like, for example, Arjuna was not a seeker seeking knowledge, no? He was a warrior who so it was given to revive him, that's all. Open, washroom open. Hmm? No slides. No, sir, I didn't come that prepared. Yeah. Just a minute or two. As you all are aware, I just got back from the trek from the Himalayas. I had gone to the mountain which I have not heard until I went there, or I started preparing for that. It is called Pangarachula. It is 11 hours drive from Rishikesh. We go to the place called Joshirmat. From there, we trekked, an hour's drive again from Joshirmat was our first day camp. We started trekking. So it's actually a trek. It can't be a pilgrimage. It's actually a trek through the woods into the mountains. First day itself was 11 hours of trek. And the demanding part on our part was there was no offloading. Offloading means you can't let somebody, the mules or the Sherpas who carry the bags. So it's actually, I was carrying 14 kgs of weight on my back. And the first time I was doing it, so it was very challenging. It took a physical toll. First day was 11 hours. We reached the first base camp, stayed night. Even the first day, the temperatures were 4 or 5 degrees. We were all sleeping in the trekking tents, sleeping in sleeping bags. Second day, we trekked for 6 hours to 5 to 6 hours to reach the second base camp. And that's becomes the camp where we would actually do an acclimatization trek. An acclimatization trek is usually done where you go to a higher altitude and come back to that same base. So we trekked from 11,000 to close to 13,000 feet, which itself is very challenging. And we come back again and we rest that night. The following day, we trekked at 11:45 a.m. So we had our breakfast at 10:30 at night. I'm not mincing my words. We had our breakfast at 10:30 at night so that you are well fed to trek. So that summit time is in total close to 12 hours. You go, which is 12 kilometers. Going up 6 kilometers, coming down 6 kilometers. It's as difficult to come down as to go up. There is no path, there is no track. You have a leader who will go with ice hacks to actually make a route, a path for you, and you use those steps to go up. And it was close to, we started our trek at -1, -2, right from our camps were completely covered in snow because there was a hailstorm and there was lightning and rain. But it was something, the toughest that I have done, I must say. The last section, it led up to close to -15, -18 degrees. And the last leg, the peak never seemed to come. We keep pushing ourselves. He says it's here, it's here. If you take few steps, it's misleading. There's another peak behind it. You go another 10 minutes and you think you reach there, something else beyond it. So the last summit itself was 1 hour. Believe me or not, the thought comes, what am I doing here? Because you keep breathing 20 times to put a couple of steps forward. Pull yourself up again and input. It is not easy. Oxygen levels were high. Very, very low. Our spirits were very high. So we reached that summit, and then obviously it's technical. You have certain gear provided, so you use that to come down. And thanks to the team, we were 14 of us. Of that, 12 only did it. One person came back because of frostbite. One person had cramps and he didn't even trek the summit. But it's a very humbling experience. It's indeed a very, very spiritual experience. It makes you feel so small. And always the treks are done with a prayer to Allah, to seeking the permission from the mountain to come to its abode. And they say it's a very strong belief amongst the mountaineers, and say it's only if the mountain allows you, you can visit it, you can go it. So it's all done with a very great spiritual fervor. And it is that phase where the realm, you are all by yourself, and it's a very highly spiritual, very highly elevating experience, because it is in those mountain ranges these great rishis have discovered their own self. It is a laboratory. Himalayas is the spiritual laboratory. So it's always a great calling in me to go there, and I find a great connect. And thanks to the entire team and everybody who played a part, brought us all back home. Right. So the height is over 15,000 feet. I have done close to 18,000 feet earlier, but comparison to the challenge is far more challenging than what we did at 18,000. We didn't find lack of breadth, which was more evident at 18,000, but the sheer elevation and walking at night and in freezing temperatures and under lights. And luckily it was actually a close to full moon day. So there were sections we did not even use that light. So imagine walking 2 o'clock in the night, actually able to see the entire mountain. It is a spectacle. So the pictures of what that has come your way, some of you, the elevation of start point was 11,000 odd feet. So we went to 15,000 and we came back again to 11,000, which took us 12 hours. So the pictures and what I say don't do any justice to the grandeur, the beauty, the majesty, and also the difficulty and the challenge we all went through. But end of it, it's all real worth it, because that experience is something which you can't get it in any way. You have to endure it, you have to go through it to know what it is. Right? So thank you, and we will come back. So those of you who really are inspired and want to join me, next year again we will plan something. I don't invite because I don't know who is ready to join, but if you're ready to, I only see one thumbs up by Ramji. Are you sure, Ramji?
Yes, sir. I want to do it. Now I will have to physically prepare for it.
You have got 1 year, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, it is, you need to be really physically fit. We were constantly put through a regime that you must, the minimum is we had to run 10 kilometers under an hour. And we have to keep showing proof to them that we are doing that until actual trick happens. Then only we got fitness approval to even come for the trick. No, this is a company called India Hikes. It's a famous company which does trek. So in fact, we were 14 hours from all over India. Apart from Abhishek, a well-wisher, a friend of mine, a good well-wisher of the foundation as well. So he was with me, and both of us, and then people from all over India. So I'll have to put you through test, Ramji. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.